don't know how much these things weigh, but they are heavy. Well, there's the head. I've got it bolted on. 14 head bolts. Alright, head bolts. Right side top, right side middle, right side bottom. Okay, I'm going to take off the rocker arms to get to the middle bolts, which are actually right in here, in between each one. So what I've done is to figure out which one's exhaust and which one's intake. Outside one here, there's a hole right here, so that's exhaust. So that means this one's intake. There's a hole right here, that means this is exhaust, this is intake. And I've got it marked on my little board here. It's a little dusty. I and E. Intake exhaust. So I'll take all my rocker arms off, and it's labeled front. So I will lay these in order as they come off, so that way they will go back on in the exact order that they come off. Taking off the exhaust first. And to make sure I do not lose the 3 or 4 threads back on. Now the intake, it's almost the same as a Chevy with 2 intake exhausts in the middle. Also the Ford Y-block has the same sort of setup. Intake. Alright, now this one's an intake. And then exhaust. This is an intake. Right now we're sitting at 3 and 3, and they are in order from front to back. This is an intake. And this is exhaust, so right there. Okay, you have to remove the rocker arms to put the top bolts in, not the middle bolts, but you still have to remove them. Alright, so here's our middle bolts. So 5. Get these started. I'm not torquing them down, I'm just cinching them up. I am not torquing these down, I am going down till they are flush and stopping. So this is not a torque sequence right here. I'm just getting them flush, ready to be torqued. Which the end ones here and on the other side are really hard to get to because there's not much of a wall. There is a little recess for your socket, but there's really not much. It's hard to get the socket in. I actually had to take it on the other head, put the socket on with the extension, tap it with a hammer to make sure it's seated before I torqued it. Because when you're going to, say I went 60, 80, 100, when you get into the 80 and the 100 like that, if it's not seated right, it'll pop right off. And you do not want to round off a head bolt. That is a bad day. It's this top, and I've got 4. So we are good to go. Here's your toppings. This is the ones I was talking about you have to remove the rocker arms for. And I have a new head gasket in there. Twist, 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 pull. Twist, 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 pull. Okay, all of them are seated. Let's go ahead and snug them down. I guess because it was 14 instead of 10, that would mean you could probably really run some good high horsepower on these engines. I don't know enough about AMCs to speak to that or not, but I think with 14 heads you could probably run some pretty high compression and maybe some nitrous without it coming apart. I mean, you still got to consider the bottom end where it's at, how well built it is. But I think the heads are up to the task with 14 head bolts. You see I stopped on that one because that's all I'm doing. I'm just laying it down to the snug, and then that's it. There it is. One more. Alright, and the torquing sequence is, let's say there, here, 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 here. And I go 60, 80, 100. Okay, let's do the torquing sequence. So I'm not exact, I have to have my thing, but got 1, 2, then you go up to the top, 3, 4, and then to the middle, 5, bottom, 6, other bottom, 7, that's when we had to put the sealant on for the coolant passage on the other side, 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Heads are torqued. Now I can put the rocker arms back on. Put the last few on. Alright, we're checking this. There's a hole over here. Where is it? Right here. This is our, yep, that's our intake. Right here. And then another intake, and then exhaust. So these are going all back on exactly the way they came off, which is exactly the way they were put together at the factory. They are in the same exact position they've always been. I don't know if that matters, but I feel more comfortable with that. I'd rather do it that way, keep it in the same order. Because on a Chrysler, I don't know if it's small block, but I think big block, you have to have the pistons a certain way. You can't just slap the pistons in. They have to be oriented a certain way. And I don't even know if they have a certain hole, but I know for sure Chrysler, at least big block Chryslers, have to have their pistons oriented in a certain way. So, all right, and now I'll go down and tighten these down. I don't really need to do it right now because I have no push rods. I did a very good job at saving head bolts and certain stuff. I've lost the push rods. So we will work on other things. This timing chain cover needs to come off. The oil pump, which is right here, I need to rebuild. I have a new timing chain coming in, so I need to take all this off. So that will probably be our next thing. And I also have a nasty oil pan I need to clean. Okay, after the head bolts are on, you can put the rocker arms back on. You need to put the push rods back in. This push rods, what I'd lost earlier. This got to go back in. It's a hole right here, just even with the stud. Make sure you get it lined up with the lifter. These are our lifters. Put the rocker arm back on. Fits right in there. Tighten it right on down. And what I did is I bottomed out these. These are hydraulic lifters, which means they have to fill up full of oil before they'll work. That means you don't have to adjust your rocker arms at all, because the adjustment all comes with the hydraulic lifters. So now this has got tension on it. I'm trying to turn the rocker arm. There's no way I can turn it. It's got tension on it. This one turns. This one turns. I've been a push rod, but I straightened it out. It was a learning moment. All right. Now all I gotta do is just drop it in the Jeep, stir it up. Easy as pie. Reworking the gas tank again. There's a couple of ideas I have, but the way I've got it is not going to work, so I'm going to have to rework it again. But kind of figured that. I'm working on hanging that Jeep tank, and it's I'm trying to figure out how to do it, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think I'm going to make what I have is, so you got this right here, which is where the holes I drilled are for the tank, but they're too close, so they're actually being bent out. There's another brace right here. So what I'm thinking about doing is taking a piece of metal, hooking it into the holes I already drilled, and running it across. Running it across like that. And then I'll hook my all thread into those two cross pieces. The thing is I got to find a piece of metal that will hold, make sure that it's not too flimsy. And these are skip. That's a good one. Actually, all three of these are good candidates. Just got to figure out which one I want to use and do to get it set. But that's kind of what I'm thinking on right now as I walk around my shop and wander back and forth, is thinking about that. How do I want to do it? How am I going to set it up? And will it work? It may not work. And that's the whole thing with this, what I'm doing right now. It may not work.